Nicole from the Halliburton County Public Library, and today we're going to be doing fake concrete statue heads. So here's my example, and here's what you're going to need for today's. I have concrete mix, a stir stick, a container in which to mix it. I also have water off to the side. I have a styrofoam mannequin head. I have a bag to put any discards in. Something to draw on the mannequin, the head with. I also have a butter knife, a long screwdriver, a sharp knife. I also have a plant and some extra dirt. So this is a live plant. You can do fake plants if you want. Okay, so one thing to note is the example one is done with paint and fake flowers. That way, if you're not a big gardening person, you don't have to worry about the plants. And if you don't want to do the concrete, you can do the paint. So if you're not comfortable doing concrete, do the paint. So let's get started. Follow your instructions for your concrete. Different mixes tend to have different amounts of water, mix and all that stuff. So my concrete mix calls to start with 2 cups of water. I just have my water in a kettle. It's not hot. It's a lot easier to do on video if I have it in a container. So I highly recommend, if you're doing the concrete version of this, because you can do the paint one, to put, especially if you're working inside, a bag or something down so that you don't get concrete mix everywhere. Okay, and then I just mix mine, and then if I need to, I just add a little bit of water at a time until it is easy to stir, so kind of like a thick pancake mix, I guess. This is the reason I said to put a bag down. It's really watered down, but it could still get in cracks and crevices and cause issues. Okay, so I mixed up. I'm going to rinse my hands off real quick. Okay, I'm gonna let that sit for a minute, and we're gonna go on to the next step. Okay, so the next step is to actually carve in the styrofoam. So in my example one, there's actually a hole already in the styrofoam HUD from when I bought it. You kind of figure out where you want to carve. I'm gonna go right there. You're gonna need a sharp knife. I have just a steak knife type thing. You can use X-Acto and just cut carefully. And then I just use the butter knife and pop it out. This one does not have a hole in it already, which is why I have the screwdriver. Push it down. Okay, so that hole in here that I just made is for drainage, because a live plant, you need drainage. You can also shove a piece of piping or something like that to line it. So with the concrete mixed and your head carved out, you're going to coat this. Okay, and I'm just gonna put this in here to stable, and I'm going to coat it. I'm gonna be using my hands a little bit. Now, depending on how thick your concrete is, you may actually be able to sculpt this. So the reason I lined the inside is so that it doesn't hold the moisture too much. Okay, so that is done as it's gonna get right now. You can actually buy concrete that's meant for molding, modeling, whatever. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll be back with the next part. This does take a while to dry. This one takes about half a day to do. So I'm gonna let this dry, and then we'll be back. Okay, so mine's been drying for about 12 hours. So it is dry to touch. Again, I didn't put very much on it. However, I don't know if you could see it when I was doing it. I added a fair amount of material to the base for weight, because once you get some weight in the top, sometimes it starts to tilt. So with it dry, we're going to go on to the next step, which is adding your plant. The plant type you want is kind of dangly. And you're just going to be very gentle but firmly push it in. You're gonna probably feel some of the roots snapping a little bit. Now, depending on how big you make the hole, it may be a lot easier to put in. I regret not making mine bigger, but so the last thing you can do, which I'm not going to do because I like the way it looks right now, is you can add just a little bit of white glue to this. Just kind of coat it in certain areas. And you can take preserved moss, you don't want fresh moss for this, and you can powder it. So crush it, grind it, whatever. Put it through a sifter and just kind of shake it on, and it adds a nice little detailing. So while I can't take credit for this, this is kind of what I'm talking about, how it looks like. So it just adds some of a weathered look to it. Okay, so the last thing is to water it. So because of the hole in it, I do just put it in the base. If this was outside, I wouldn't bother putting it in the tray, but it's sitting on my table, so. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, mine's done. Like I said, you can add the moss. If you do some more modeling style of the face, you can actually take some lighter paint, mix it with water, and you can do some shadowing techniques on it, which I can't do to save my life, so we're gonna avoid that. Okay, so that's the craft. So like I said, you can do it either way. You can do the concrete or you can do the painting. Live plant, fake plant, whatever's easiest for you, whatever you want to do. However, I recommend doing drapey, hangy type plants. Tends to look a little bit better. I've seen them, other things similar to this, done with like cactuses, so it kind of looks like a mohawk, which again, very cool. But do what you're comfortable with. I don't usually use concrete, so that was a new learning experience for me for this. So, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week with another